So how goes it, everybody? I'm Ken Bosak. I'm here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I'm with my bro, artist, visionary, author, Kyle Kemper. Much appreciated.
What?
Fucking right,
Thank
Woo.
you, Ken. Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, let people know a little bit about who you are and the role that you have assumed now in this industry.
Okay, I'll try being quick. I'm Kyle Kemper. Got into the whole space in like 2013, but before that was looking for alternatives to money or alternative systems of money, and kind of had my awakening like all of us had at one point, and just couldn't look back. Since then, worked with a whole bunch of different exchanges, ran the Blockchain Association of Canada for 4 years, advised a number of projects, consult. I have a car that's covered in paint and crypto stickers. Met Ken in Vancouver at Dogecoin. We absolutely just lit it up and activated.
Yeah, Dogecoin activated my crypto soul. That's what happened at Dogecoin. I feel
You didn't look like this before that.
I forked at Dogecoin as a person. None of you have met me before then, so you only know the forked version of me. So you're welcome, congrats, and all that. I was just a normal dude, and I felt awkward wanting to dress like how I felt comfortable, and I felt judged. And I don't know, Dogecoin was just a different kind of crypto conference where it was just extra weird. See? Yeah. I love it. But Kyle, you've recently published a book titled The Unified Wallet, and that kind of inspired the topics of discussion that I kind of put together for tonight. There we go. You can get this book on Amazon, and if you go to purse.io, you can save 30% if you buy the book with Bitcoin. Just saying. Use
30%
case.
off Amazon?
Use case. Use case.
Go on.
Yeah, right? So I wanted to start a little bit about, before the topics I wrote, what inspired you or kept you motivated during the process of putting together the book? What helped you get through that? Because I know it was your first, and you had a lot of support, but what was the true motivation behind making it get out there? Because it obviously isn't a get-rich-quick ICO, tokenized book thing. Like, this was for people, right? So what inspired you and motivated you to do this?
Yeah, so like in my whole kind of crypto journey, there's been a lot of setting people up with wallets. The first thing you need to do in order to use Bitcoin or crypto is have a wallet. Like, that is the beginning phase. That's what everybody kind of needs to do as step one. In 2015, I think it was the Miami Bitcoin conference and at the hackathon there, and we tried to start building what's called the social wallet. And it was a fork of, or it was like an app on top of ChangeTip, which is unfortunately is no longer with us, but it was an amazing kind of social payment platform, gratitude platform. And and then just kind of begin to think about the wallet, and the fact that the digital wallets that we use, like over time I've had like Bread Wallet, Blockchain, CoPay, there's a whole folder of just so many different wallets. But there needs to be, or I believe that we could really benefit from one open wallet that could support all of our different tokens and people could develop on top of as a community, as opposed to trusting in these large, by and large, small teams for all of our identity and reputation and money and digital assets. And thinking beyond like the cryptocurrency wallet, the cryptocurrency wallets are like digital money clips. Yep. And if think about the wallet that's in our pocket, like the crypto wallet's only satisfying the cash component. If you think about all the other slots and the ability of what you can keep in your wallet, it becomes your keychain. And as soon as that goes digital and it becomes open, then we can basically have an unlimited wallet in terms of what we can keep into it. We're in full control of it. We can't lose it. We can recover it if we lose our devices. But at the end of the day, it's ours. So.
Well, as beings, we've always been physical creatures of, fungible, tangible goods and services. So I see where you're saying, like, here with the digital wallet concept, but, like, what really bridges that gap is the unified concept of the digital wallet. Just wondering where your thought process kind of was inspired for that, or like what maybe sparked that we're like, oh, we could have a unified digital wallet, less so different, centralized or decentralized money clips.
Well, it came from the thought, like, is this going to be something that Amazon builds, or is this something that Facebook builds, or Google builds, or Like, and I just don't believe that the wallet is so critical that it needs buy-in and support from basically everyone. This is a solution. I remember talking to one guy about digital identity, and it was, how can two spies, like, you know, in the middle of nowhere, be able to verify their credentials against each other? And, you know, if we can get it to the point that, you know, you have multiple governments supporting multiple coin foundations, businesses, you know, supporting like the development of a standard open unified wallet, then we can see it built. And it needs to be built, in my opinion, as like, you know, a community collective consortium project, as opposed to it being one company. Because at the end of the day, like, a private company generally has profit motives, and this is what I call an enabling technology.
Yep.
And once everybody has this, it will open the floodgates for additional innovation. But this core piece, the wallet, doesn't need to have its own for-profit purpose.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second here and put on my tinfoil hat and kind of bring up the concept of, you know, the security aspect. You know, if things were to go wrong and I'm in charge of everything in my wallet, sort of like Equifax or Home Depot gets hacked and I lose my things, personal responsibility, right, starts to kind of scare people away from this. So do you see any malicious use cases or potential downfall, like a Minority Report scenario of a unified digital wallet?
It's like a vault of everything that you potentially own. If someone has the key to that vault or forces you to open it, yeah, there could be major consequences to that. So, you know, these are some of the issues that need to be understood and tackled. You know, assuring that you can't transfer out your entire wealth and assets, you know, in one finger swipe.
Yeah,
while
exactly.
under duress.
Or having the wrench method, you know,
Well,
somebody holding a hammer to
exactly.
your head saying, give me your keys.
I think that's where multisig comes in too. Like, you
Yep.
know, when you have accounts that have multiple parties involved in it, you know, so you're not the one, like, you know, so I alone couldn't transfer a wrench-wielding thug my, like, you know, child's, you know, education savings.
Right. Well, that brings up a perfect segue. I mean, you have kids, a bun in the oven, you know, shout Brittany.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring up your thoughts on how this is going to increase the quality of life for the future of the youth. Like, they're going to be growing up with this. They already are. You ask any kid under 10 today if they'd rather have $20 or Fortnite bucks, they're going to go like ape shit over Fortnite bucks like we do over Bitcoin. Facts. So the kids that are being born today are going to be looking at tangible physical dollars and probably like, I should probably wash that before I touch it, right? Like, they're going to have a different perspective. So what perspective do you think the youth is going to have growing up with this, and how will they be able to implement something like a unified digital wallet to not increase their blockfolio, but to increase the quality of their life in a daily experience?
It's seamless experience is what hopefully this can unlock. It's by having, like, you know, those keys, all those, when we use services, we're always required to have like some sort of, you know, piece of plastic or a key or, like, you know, some sort of proof that we have that. And if we have access to that all the time and it's triggered by, you know, a geofence by walking in, it's triggered by some sort of proximity, you know, relationship, you know, we'll just be able to, it will be, you know, just standard procedure to use that and have your information close at hand, be able to selectively share information as you like. Like right now, when you give somebody your phone number, you're giving them the ability to contact you any point. I can give you my phone number and you can give it to somebody else.
Yep.
Like the ability to permission people, like, yes, you can voice call me, or yes, you can have this information. And like, I used to work in exchanges too, so we would take people's driver's license and all this KYC information. And at the end of the day, you're giving them, like, sometimes passports, photos, like all this really sensitive PII, personally identifiable information, and they just do not need to have it. It's actually a liability. So, like, the potential of digital identity and a wallet will really transform, you know, the compliance sector and should help limit the amount of information that we're sharing on a daily basis.
These benefits aren't just limited to individuals as consumers. It's also expanded to the corporate level of the institutions, where businesses get benefits as well as the customers. And it becomes more of a battle of customer service than proprietary knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm segueing into open sourcing everything, which you covered very well in the book. And I wanted to bring up is, you know, we need to encourage open sourcing of technology, but where do you see the incentive and disincentivizations to create technologies without having the ability to lease it or profit from that? I know Satoshi's not out there, making stocks for Bitcoin and throwing ETF parties, but where do we see the future of entrepreneurship in technology in a world of open sourcing everything?
Well, I think you can't just open source and then it gets done. At the end of the day, someone needs to build it. There's so many open source platforms out there, but people need to be building on them. So you're still going to need core teams that are focused on the mission, delivering, and by open sourcing it, you're trying, anybody can fork and take it. If you have some sort of, poor pricing model or business plan, someone's just going to fork it and reduce it down to, to near free.
McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin', Starbucks.
Yeah, I mean,
corporate forks.
And the community will support, will support these foundations towards the advancement of the technology. But the open source ability should just allow for interoperability and, to take projects beyond the dreams of, the founders and creators.
And the last panel brought up a really good concept of the cross-pollination, which open source genuinely provides that possibility of a true cross-pollination where there's no biased handshakes in the back to say, yeah, you can use my software if I can use your software, and there's nothing really in writing, and then somebody steps on somebody's toes and now there's a lawsuit. And we see that happen in tech spaces where there's incubators and other scenarios, but if it was all open source and on the table, the cross-pollination evolution of projects would just exponentially grow tenfold.
And there can be recognition too.
Right,
and with identity and with payments, there can be recognition on all of it.
Well, I wanted to bring up identity as well. It's literally, I think he just can see the topics. He's cheating. But I wanted to bring up the concept of digital identity as well because, being anonymous as opposed to synonymous and keeping up a digital reputation is your social clout. It might as well be your crypto credit score, not to be a scammer. So what are your thoughts on the concept of being anonymous, synonymous, using this ability as using this device as a unified wallet to have the ability to opt in or out of saying, yeah, I'm Ken Bosak, let me work for you, as opposed to, here's my history. If you like it, you hire me, and once you hire me, then you find out who I am. But you may not like Ken Bosak, the person, but if you looked at my resume, you'd probably hire the shit out of me real fucking quick.
I mean, it's all about trust too. And so when you think about digital identity, you're actually breaking it down into many different pieces.
Right, cutting up the ID card.
You're cutting up the ID card. You're cutting, but well beyond that too. If you think about LinkedIn, you've got the people validate your skills, and you get recommendations about your skills. I could tell you that I'm a ski instructor and I can teach you how to ski, or I could tell you that you're golf, and you can believe me. There's this factor of trust, but I can also say that I'm a driver. You've driven with me. I'm a pretty good driver, right?
He has a car.
I have a car.
It's painted.
I like to drive.
Awesomely.
I also have, with Uber, I have a 4.8 driver rating from my brief stint of experimenting with Uber, which was super awesome, and I highly recommend everybody, if you're bored at night, go drive Uber.
That's a super awesome social experiment. I'd love to talk more about that later.
But I have this verification of 4.8. That is a piece of digital identity. And if I had that, I could prove to other people, yes, you know what? I am a capable driver. Or I have taught people how to play golf, or ski, or code, or speak at an event.
This sounds like it could also be so disruptive that what's the point for a notary at that point, right? If I can sign a message with a private key that is publicly known to be my address, I can transfer property titles, I could sign contracts, we could do a loan even, and it could hold up in the court of law because that's my address without a doubt. That's your address. We signed a transaction agreeing on the terms, and we could take that to the courts of law if we need to, but we didn't need any third-party, entity in the middle to give us permission to do that deal.
And all those parties in the middle right now are not truly adding value. They were necessary, but they're no longer necessary. This is the same thing about banks. Banks were very necessary. They're no longer necessary. It doesn't mean they're obsolete or they're going to be gone tomorrow. They're just not necessary. We have alternatives. Anybody can download a wallet, open it up on their phone, and enter this new crypto digital economy.
And it's a choice. You could choose to use Bitcoin, or you could choose to use the coin that the store that you go to just created out of thin air.
It's
your choice.
And in the future, in terms of seamless and the swapping of coins, you'll be able to go to the dispensary, purchase. The tax money can go immediately to the authority. They'll get settled in U.S. dollars, for example, but the merchant can choose whatever they want. And you can pay in whatever you want.
Perfect segue again. He's cheating. Brought up the payment experience here. Like, what does that look like for a merchant and a customer in a digital unified wallet way, where the next evolution, I would say, right, like that paradigm shift of the experience of payments. How does that provide any appeal to the average person? Like somebody that could care less, like my mom or my brother, unfortunately, that don't care about Bitcoin or blockchain, but the payment experience that the technology could produce. What does it mean for them?
So think about driving. Like you have to fill your car up with gas. So if you were to pull up to the gas station and on your wallet, it knows you're right next to this machine, and you initiate and then start pumping. And then when you're done pumping, it's like the transaction occurs. You have a digital receipt. The loyalty points are automatically associated, and you are not putting the chip in, entering your zip code, or prepaying inside with cash. Like, it's about this notion of a seamless experience. The only way that crypto will, in my opinion, the only way that crypto will get adopted by the masses is if it's an exponential, or if it's a much improved experience overall. We already have tapping. In Canada, we've had it for a long time of just tap to pay using our Visa. It's super easy. That's really difficult. But what they don't have is the digital receipts on top of it. I still get this statement from the bank that has a single line item. There's no details on that. If I wanted to have those details, that could come across. If I make a big purchase from a store, I'd like to have those warranties passed to me as well immediately, and be able to have basically a digital ledger, personal ledger of all my assets and holdings and wealth, to which I could go then potentially borrow against.
Yeah, with inclusivity in mind, walking into one store like say Starbucks, and walking into Dunkin' over there, that data of what I bought isn't just important to one or the other. It's important to both. Dunkin' cares if I'm buying coffee at Starbucks. The problem is that loyalty point system is centralized, and they want to own that data. But if we were able to own the data ourselves, we could opt into who gets to see it. So now I buy coffee anywhere, and I opt in to let Dunkin' see that. I opt in to let Starbucks see that, or X, Y, and Z see all my transactions that revolve around coffee. I can earn multitude of rewards points.
And that's where the data is going too. Is when we have control of all of our information, we'll be able to sell that too. So they'll actually be able to compensate.
Not even sell it, leasing it without the ability for another company to copy it and then release it themselves, which is what they do today. I have emails from Gleam.io for all the campaigns I've done. I own 10,000 email addresses. If I wanted, I could sell that shit to any one of these shilly booths, and they'd send out a newsletter, and I'd be banking off of who cares, But that's the problem that we have, is you don't own that. I do. And it goes with medical records and everything.
It's poor too. If I have all of my inputs and all of my loyalty cards, and I'm in control of all this data, then that represents a really valuable stack, and I can selectively share that out too and get compensated for that. And I think that's one component to universal basic income or access or compensation is the data that we all hold, and it's been missing from the entire advertising paradigm as well. It's always been the advertiser, the content network, and then the user is the product. Well, our data can be actually enhanced, be much more valuable, and we can be compensated directly by engaging with services without actually giving them our personally identifiable information. They just need to know that, I like golf, or I like to drive, or this is my body size.
I've gotten to experience some of these in live action. I was at Consensus, and Vinny Lingam had the Civic beer vending machine. I went up to the beer vending machine, I scanned a QR code, and Civic said to the vending machine, Ken's over 21, but we're not going to tell you exactly when he was born. Don't worry about it. The vending machine gave me a beer, and nobody went to jail for serving a minor. It's fucking dope.
Yeah.
That's the future. That's where we're at. And we're seeing things like Monarch Wallets over there. They just partnered with Total. We're seeing wallets, becoming the concept that you wrote in the book, that unified idea where I can earn interest, I can do exchanges, I can use credit, all from one wallet. Now we just need to start bringing in those other things other than the currencies, the data.
Well, it's the apps.
Right.
So that's like the next edge is the app. So anybody like people build iPhone apps, the same thing. We need wallet apps.
Yep.
And these and it needs
open
to be
API, open source.
Open, so anybody can build that. Same with because right now a lot of the wallets they have their own little proprietary things. Some of them
and that's not bad.
You have to use this or you have to use that but in terms of UI design, UX design.
Well, that's where we're at right now. We're in an impasse of UI UX. Right now, we can't decide which way to lean more of our time and attention. Do we sacrifice the UX for the UI? Do we sacrifice the UI for the UX? Do we limit the experience that the end user is able to engage with for the ease of use of what we do allow them to engage with, right? Like, make it more plug and play, like browser extensions for your Chrome.
And like your wallet, is your wallet the same as my wallet? Like everybody has different wallets as well. So, like, the ability to customize to make something personal.
My wallet says dirty fiat, and I got it from Crypto Brecky over there. So go shout out Brecky. Get yourself a dirty fiat wallet.
Yeah, right.
But so I kind of wanted to wrap things up here with the concept of the digital golden era. What does that mean to you?
Unlocking a digital golden age?
That one. Cannabis is legal in LA. Bear with me.
I think, it's this concept of seamless experience, of reducing a lot of the friction points that we have so that we can focus our lives on creating value and enjoyment and celebrating and coming together and building and not focus so much on complying to these like really outdated legacy conformist structures.
I feel like regulations will conform to the possibilities of the technology, before the possibilities of the technology will conform to the regulations being imposed. And the moment a lot of these companies and people that are investing in them realize that, they're more empowered, right? They're sheep with a gate and no fence, and they're afraid to walk freely into the field. Mm-hmm. It's because of the potential of regulations. But once we see this, where they wake up and they realize, like, nobody can sue Satoshi. You can't sue the blockchain. You can't sue Bitcoin. You can't.
And when anybody can take a business plan or a project that they're really passionate about and create a token and reach out to the world for people who also believe in that project to support it in a micro amount. We don't have this accredited investor
So how do we get there, and what can we do as individual noobs or experts or however long you've been in the space? What's the bare minimum we can do to contribute to that on-ramped mass adoption momentum?
Well, different, but I would say start by downloading a wallet. Encourage other people to get wallet. I would recommend, to others to, when people are deciding, they're asking, if you say, you should get into Bitcoin. Well, how much Bitcoin should I get, or how much crypto you should get? They say, start small and start,
So with $1,000, $10,000?
No, just $5 a day.
Perfect.
A little amount every day. So it's a low perceived risk, but you're creating sustained buy-side pressure. It's not trying to buy a whole Bitcoin today and then feeling terrible tomorrow or feeling really jubilant tomorrow. If you just do a small kind of dollar cost average, that's one way to go about accumulating it, and you can recommend that as an easy solution to others. And then, and show, teach. It's a great thing to learn, but also teach, explain. The way I explain Bitcoin to others is it's like a mailbox.
And write an awesome book. Cough, cough. Seriously, the book is awesome, and I feel like you guys should read it to get the concept of where we are going with this. It's not. I know they were talking about tribalism earlier and things like that, but the tribe is human. We're on planet Earth, and having a universal currency will bring us closer together than farther apart. Hi. We can do whatever we fucking want. I don't think anybody can stop me. I mean, it's just this guy and all of us, so we win.
My question right now is this mean that the goal is ultimately to replace all currency with cryptocurrency? That's kind of felt like what the last thing you were saying was, but earlier we said it would be likened to US dollars, so I'm just wondering how you reconcile existing tender.
In my opinion, the
legal
goal
tender.
is not to replace the currencies; it's to allow choices beyond that. It's to enable individual choice. We've been forced into using these central bank issued currencies for the last 100 years, effectively, and now we're basically represents kind of like a new age of free banking.
Right. It's almost like an ageist
choice
thing too. Like my parents prefer dollars, I prefer my debit card, and my brother's son will probably prefer Fortnite bucks.
And
because
let them compete.
That's just
Let them compete. Like, the U.S. dollar has gone down like 99% in value since it was
But then
issued.
does that mean that cryptocurrency is like a new currency, like a new dollar, or is it a new like check, Venmo, or credit card? I have very limited knowledge,
it really
so I'm
depends
literally
on
like
the
seeking
end user.
information.
So cryptocurrency is like a new dollar,
Like
as
a new
opposed
dollar.
to a Venmo. A
So
Venmo
it's not
is
like
just
it's
Venmo
not
is
cash
like
versus a debit card. It's
Venmo is like
something else.
lipstick on a pig. It's like fintech. It allows you to move money between your bank accounts, your traditional U.S. monies. Versus Bitcoin is truly disruptive. It is a whole nother form of money that anybody can send to anyone else by simply having a wallet, sharing an address, and having that value. And its value is determined by the market based on a global network of exchanges that are always determining an equilibrium price, and then there's a huge layer of traders that kind of keep everything kind of tight together that establishes, the price. But it is separate from, like, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, one Doge is one Doge.
Exactly. It's going to be
US dollar
optional.
is one US dollar.
It's an option, right? To a lot of people, Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies isn't as much of an option as it is the only choice they have. Like Venezuela, what's happening there, we're seeing them embrace cryptocurrencies over their own currency, where they're accepting Dash or Bitcoin or whatever at their local stores, and they're not cashing out into boulevards because there's no reason to. They're actually holding it, and then they're trying to use it, pay their employees with it, because the employees are going to take that digital currency and spend it at another merchant that prefers it, as opposed to their local boulevard, because it loses value so quickly. So it's just an option. It's to me, I look at Bitcoin more like a lifeboat, and you have to wait for your boat to be sinking for it to make sense, right? The U.S. dollar works; it's great. Visa works; it's great. Can't lie about it. But I think it's one of those stepping stones. Like we don't look at gold as much when you look at gasoline, and you're like, oh, the price of gas is like $4. You don't really go like, damn, that's going to be like 2.5 grams of gold or what. Like nobody's looking. So in the future, when we're going to be looking at prices, we're probably going to be looking at a form of a cryptocurrency in price, because we're going to be able to have businesses that choose to go with either fiat or debit or credit cards or cryptocurrencies. And because of the frictionlessness of it, they're going to pass that on. You're going to be incentivized to use Bitcoin over your debit card because American Express charges 7% and Lightning's basically free.
Yeah, this bottle of water right here was $7 Australian dollars, which is $5 US and 6 Canadian or whatever. There's different values for all the different currencies, and Bitcoin is just another one. And anybody can choose what to price, their good in, and that's up to the seller to decide. But that can convert into, this many bits or this many ETH or this many
the funny thing
US.
with Bitcoin is one Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin, but they don't always have the same price. You could have a Bitcoin from the deep web. It's relatively worth a lot less than the open market price. You could have a virgin Bitcoin from a miner that's never touched anything. It's, AML resistant and all that, and significantly worth more than the market value of Bitcoin. So it comes down to the open market.
Yeah, that's not a good way to introduce new people to Bitcoin.
It's not, but it's the truth.
Not really.
It's
I have
the
another
truth.
question, but I don't want to. I have one other thank you for that answer. And I have another kind of foundational question based on something, Kyle, that you said earlier about having this unified wallet be built by the community. And I'm a total newbie, so forgive me for a foundational question, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around what that means to have a product that will be used by a lot of people that's a digital product, not be owned by a company. Is there like an example of something? Because there were a few companies referenced that are building wallets, but there's obviously for-profit entities. That's a different thing. So what's an example that I can then tell other people, like, what he means is something like Wikipedia is a foundation. That's not really apples to apples.
Yeah, so
the internet itself was open source, but it's...
The IEF, what is it? W3C,
Yeah,
the group that there was a consortium that came together to set like standards for internet protocol. Like they determined the W3C, I think is...
Sounds
right?
about right.
Yeah, there's a number, but the idea behind this is if you get support, so before trying to just go out and just try to build this by myself or with a small team, it's go out and rally support towards the ideas. Have everyone kind of get behind the massive transformational purpose of an open, unified, universal wallet, and then get sign-offs, get a treaties going, validate it and build up support, and then call to action little bits of funds from many different people. And then I would suggest then you bring people together, you map it, you do your design thinking, you bring the best from the different industries together to kind of chart out this ideal wallet and what it might look like, break it down into chunks and components, and then use that the funds that have been pledged to effectively bountify all your different components of it to make it a challenge towards building it. And you have people building it, getting rewarded, getting compensated for contributing to building it, and sticking to these core principles. And the foundation itself, there might be a need for this consortium nonprofit foundation to maintain and support the base level standard open source wallet.
Well, this happens with Android right now. You can buy or get a free open source skin. It's like a launcher or whatever they call them for Android. But it's Android. It's just the version I built based on the very fundamental layer that's out there. I can build this user experience on top of your Samsung Android phone and put that out there like a skin for a smartwatch or a different type of a wallet, money clip idea, where it's just a theme that I kind of build around the technology. Okay. So in a sense, you could have open source, decentrally built Android launchers right now. So to look at the ability of open source like Edge Wallet, you can kind of play around with their API, and they're pretty friggin' awesome.
Yeah, like Edge Wallet, for example, they offer their product for free, and they earn money based on switching of coins within the app itself. Yep. Beyond that though as well, even if they didn't have that, they could also do a Wikipedia style message to users saying, hey, we built this for you for free. This is would you like to support us?
Yeah, we want to put in an update. We need funding.
By sending us $1, $5, $10, maybe 25 cents a transaction.
I think the bounty system will replace that. A lot of people will say, I want this feature. You all agree with me. We all put a couple bucks up in this escrow smart contract. Somebody comes together, they build it. They don't tell us who they are, but next thing you know, our wallet has an update. That feature is there. We all agree that the feature is there. The smart contract triggers the escrow. Dude gets paid.
That's the future of government contracts, in my opinion, is bounties.
Bounties are going to change everything.
As opposed to selecting based on the criteria of who can build something. Say, build this. If you satisfy all of these things, you win the prize. We will deploy this. You want a digital identity system? You want a healthcare system? You want an election system? This is how it needs to be. 100 checkpoint. You build it. You win.
Yeah,
that's like X Prize.
Kind of playing with the idea of bounty charity concepts or community service that's bountied, where there's a dirty park across the street, nobody wants to fucking clean it. I'm tired of looking at it. Let's put $50 up, everybody, and somebody will clean the park. I don't care who does it, but we could do that. Or Neighborhood Watch 2.0. We had volunteers and criteria that they meet, and if we ever have issues and they come and help, we acknowledge their contributions. The smart contract releases. Now we have more of a tighter community without the tribal mentality, where everybody wants to contribute and earn, or contribute and reap the benefits of their own selfish ideas. I don't want to look at a messy park, but I don't want to clean it.
Amen.
So I wanted to wrap things up here, where you can tell everybody where to find you and buy your book.
I'm at Kyle Kemper on Twitter. There's a link to the book right there. It's on Amazon. It's called The Unified Wallet. Yeah, and pretty easy to find. Website's kjjk.ca.
And I'm on page 93, just saying.
What's that?
I'm on page 93. Boom. Shout out myself in the book.
Ken Bosak is mentioned in the book.
All right, guys, thank you for bearing with us. Let's go get high. Smoke up outside on me.